not much I can do but sit back and relax as the world is ending.
Hi, this is Haley Savage, the co-founder of Keepsake House. I'm here with Autumn Chu, our blog writer, as well as our artist in residence for 2023, Alex Petti, for his Behind Closed Doors interview at Keepsake House. Alex Petti is an incredible punk rock indie artist and musical theater writer and leader of the band Good Thoughts, originally from Massachusetts, currently living in New York City. And we're going to ask him some questions today about his background, as well as what it's been like so far as a Keepsake resident, the music that he writes, et cetera, et cetera. You'll hear it all. Is everybody ready to get started? Autumn, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Autumn. I am the current blog writer for Keepsake House. I am also kind of in charge of video production stuff. So I'm the one who's editing this live stream to make sure everything looks good, and I'll be taking little clips out of it for our social media as well. Yeah, that's all for me. And Alex, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Beautiful, Autumn. So nice to meet you.
Yes.
As Haley said, my name is Alex Petti. I'm an artist in residence at Keepsake House. Haley gave me a pretty good intro, so I feel like there's not much for me to do. I'm going to be low-key sponsoring, being sponsored by LaCroix this interview. So that's a joke. Please pay us, LaCroix.
I was going to clarify. This is not real sponsorship.
I realized as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, this sounds like it's serious. And then I was like, what if it could?
Yeah. We do not have a true sponsorship for this video just yet.
One day
we'll be hawking LaCroix and like safe vapes or whatever they do on podcasts now.
Ooh.
You could do worse than LaCroix, that's for sure.
Fancy. This is fun. This feels like a podcast already because we have to just keep talking. I'm like, don't, no blank space. Just gotta fill the space. Alex, are you ready for some questions?
I am ready for some questions. Hit me.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you with a really hard one first.
Go for it.
It's gonna get really intense.
Yeah.
So considering the timing of this interview and your background, and also the upcoming show, which we'll get to, how are you celebrating St. Patrick's Day? This is a bit of a joke, but you can answer.
No, that's okay. I am going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day like a good Irish Catholic boy, like I am. Sarcasm isn't going to read on the page. That's okay. I'm celebrating St. Patrick's Day probably by drinking a green beer by accident. You know what? Okay, no, I have a better answer.
A green bottle
I'm celebrating...
beer?
Yay, like the green beers with the food coloring. I'm gonna revise my answer. Ready? We'll cut this out. We'll just snip in the good parts.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating St. Patrick's Day by avoiding Midtown on St. Patrick's Day.
Good answer. Yeah.
That is a good answer.
The number of times I've accidentally ended up there, y'all, it's a problem.
Yeah.
My partner and I have said since moving to Kips Bay, which is a whole story, that we used to try to avoid things like SantaCon and St. Patty's Day with our lives, and now we can't because it comes to us.
Yeah, that's horrifying. You have to go away for the weekend.
Right. Yeah. We actually really should. Okay, now an actual question.
Mm-hmm.
Not that wasn't a really good question. You grew up in Massachusetts. Can you share a bit about your background, how you discovered theater, writing, or both? And any events or memories that drew you there?
Yeah, so I grew up in Massachusetts, and I feel really distinctly shaped by where I grew up and the family that I grew up in. I was raised Catholic. My mom's side of the family is Lebanese and Irish Catholic, and I was sent to Catholic school for kind of K through 12th grade, and I think it really shapes who I am as a writer and an artist. There is like this really like vibrant Boston punk scene that I grew up kind of like aspiring to be a part of. And also like it was a little bit weird to be like, I went to school with a lot of like Irish Catholics and folks that maybe didn't look exactly like me and as like, a Lebanese person with that like, religion mixed in. I always kind of felt like a little bit of an outsider at school, maybe because of my interest, maybe a little bit because of the way that I look too. But I found that, I found writing to be a really good escape from that kind of stuff. It was a way to express myself and start to cope with things and like mental health issues that were like on their way but not fully on set yet. And yeah, I didn't discover theater until college, actually. I just played in a band in high school, and then when I went to college, I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, so I was like, what are the ways in which I could make friends? And I knew something about like sound engineering and sound design from my work in my band, and I was like, I got to just cast as wide a net as possible. This is my second chance. Really can't blow it. And then I did my first college show as like part of the sound tech crew for Urinetown, a production of Urinetown with Scotch and Soda, and I just like fell in love with like the environment, and there was this like kinship between like theater kids and punk kids, where it was like we were all kind of like island of misfit toys kind of folks. And as time progressed through college, my interest in theater kind of like grew and grew until I decided that I wanted to take my composition in that direction and use some of the like singer-songwriter stuff that I had learned to apply it to theater pieces, and really use writing and music to advance my political stances through theatrical messaging.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that there was that kind of like kinship between theater kids and punk kids. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that, like the relationship between those two styles of music? Because they seem very disparate.
Totally. I think when I answered that way, I think it's more like the type of person that attracts to those genres. I do think there's a connection between theater and punk. I mean, or at least I'm trying to make one. Yeah. There's this thing with theater kids where they have this like really niche interest, and they all kind of like, again, maybe it was just my college theater group, but I think it's broader than this. There's this island of misfit toys like thing where it's like, no, the tech people and the actors, like they all have these different interests, but they're all secretly like, yeah, but I just like love Legally Blonde the musical and whatever. And also like theater doesn't make sense. Like it's a crazy thing to be like, yeah, we're all gonna like stay up all night building this set, painting this set, like in addition to our schoolwork, because just like we love it so much. So there's this island of misfit toys thing happening there where it's like, you don't all fit together with like the main group, but you all like have this thing in common that you love. And I always found like the punk spots were the places for like the weirdos and the kids that fit in, like, or kids that didn't fit in. A lot of like, a lot of my friends in school, and I was like, I don't know, sometimes I have that imposter syndrome, and I was like, I don't know, I was cosplaying as a punk, but like that's who I aspired to be, right? Like those were the people who like took the things that were weird about them, or aggressive, or these political stances, and like I loved bands like the Matches that were doing like, they were dressing weird. They were dressed, or not weird, that's like makes it sound like a pejorative. They were dressing in like wacky clothing, and they were painting their nails, and they had like crazy hairstyles and all this stuff. And like the whole like punk I don't give a fuck thing was something that really appealed to me, because it was a way to be like, because it's not just I don't give a fuck in a vacuum, right? It's like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. Like, I like the way I look with my painted nails, or I like the way I look with my like hair spiked or whatever. And I don't give a fuck that you don't like it. And there was something that was like really empowering about that. It was like, yeah, none of the people in high school or whatever like me. I, clearly still have a chip on my shoulder about it. But with punk music, it was like, yeah, but fuck them. They're not cool. Like, they're not cool. I'm cool. I do the thing that's cool now. And straight up scoreboard, now I'm a musician in New York, and most of them are like lame and live in the suburbs. So take that, people from Zavarian High School.
Honestly, yeah, I feel that. I grew up, no, like, honestly, that's so real. I grew up in Staten Island, and I still live in Staten Island. For those who don't know, that's basically that's like the Ohio of New York City, basically.
That's such a tough hit, but that's fair.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's very suburban, it's very like conservative, and just soccer moms everywhere, that kind of thing. And it's It wasn't. I kind of have like a similar story to you, where like I started as like the suburban kid, and then I grew
Yeah.
up. I went to high school in New York City, and
Mhm.
I had the same kind of arc of like being around people who were just very diverse and different, and it made me
Mhm.
like realize like I had this ability to. I didn't have to fit myself to like the people I saw around me growing up. I can actually like express myself and be myself, and it's great to hear that you have like
Totally.
the same story that you went through as well.
Yeah. No, that's very resonant to me. It's like, oh, I don't have to like choose to fit in with this
Mhm.
group, even though they're the dominant subgroup. Is like actually like I had a friend of mine say this to me once. I was like, when I was trying to break into theater circles that I couldn't get into, and they were like, look, that validation, that cosign is great, but you know what's even cooler than breaking into someone else's circle is making your own
Yeah.
circle that other people are like, that's cool, I want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
And I found that in like theater and punk, and it sounds like that you found something similar when you started going to high school in New York City.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
So on that subject, talking about punk rock and stuff,
Yeah.
something that you mentioned on your bio is that your dream when you were younger was that you wanted to headline Warped Tour. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, totally.
I had to look up what Warped Tour was because I'm not very informed.
No. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you say you're from the Ohio of New York. I mean, Autumn.
Okay. But yeah, no. Can you talk a little bit more about what Warped Tour is for people like me who don't know, and kind of like what it means to you,
Sure.
what it represented to you growing up?
Totally. So Warp Tour was, oh man, it used to be this like super cool thing. It was like basically like this massive traveling festival that would play like not just like venues, but like parking lots of venues. And it was like the bills would have like 100, 200 bands on them. It was basically like a traveling Coachella. And back in the day, I think Warped Tour doesn't exist anymore, but like it existed for about 25 years or so.
Yeah.
And back in the early 2000s, it was like the bill to be on. It was this summer tour. It came to like all the venues all around the country, and it was the tour to be on for like punk and pop punk and alternative bands. And yeah, and if you were like all the like punk classics like Rancid and Brand New and all these bands were like the headliners of Warped Tour, and that was like it was like a status symbol kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like Blink 182 was name checking it in their songs as
Yeah.
like couldn't wait for the summer and the Warped Tour
Yeah.
in that tune, right? So like it was this like cool status thing. And find it's like I've had that line in my bio for like 10 years or something like that, for a
Yeah.
long time,
Mhm.
because it really holds up, right? Like Warped Tour doesn't exist anymore. It went through its iterations, became for the scene kids, and it like whatever. I
Yeah.
feel like such an elder punk or elder emo right now, but it went through all these iterations. But it's like at that time, like the idea that like, oh, maybe one day I could be that like headliner of Warped Tour, that like again, it was partially a status thing, but it was also like this was a place for these like punk weirdo kids like me to go and like just be free for a day, just like run around in a parking lot, push people to loud music, like shout and sing along and stuff like that. And one of the reasons I really got into playing live music and writing music was like I wanted to be that conduit for people too. Like it was something that I found so freeing and so beautiful, and I kind of wanted to be a part of that. So I think my line in my bio is something like, although my dreams of headlining Warped Tour have ended, the energy still infuses my music. And I think that's a really good descriptor of where I am. Like I'm really shaped by that era of music and that like pocket of music. And although like even if they did some like Warped Tour revival or whatever, like I don't think I would want to do something like that. But the feeling, the vibes of it are something that I like really try to bring to my live shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna segue back into Broadway, but like you said, there is some overlap. And also, I should note that I'm totally living vicariously through Alex, because I have told him this before, but I wish I could go back and go to a college that was more theater kid friendly, and had that type of community and had Quidditch and these things that are very, very nerdy. I mean, maybe not Quidditch now, but we don't have to get into that. So I love what you said earlier about that the overlap of the people, like punk and Broadway people or punk and theater people are like people that just love things so much. And that's what I always define myself as, like, oh, nerds are just they've just loved things a lot. Like, I'm never going to apologize for that. So talking about things that you love, what are your 3 favorite Broadway shows currently running or not?
Oh man. Okay. So I'll just go like the things that jump to my head. I'm such a simp for Kimberly Akimbo. It's not even funny. I think Kimberly Akimbo is like this really, it's this really beautiful story that's about. I'll let folks like look up the synopsis online, but like Janine Tesori is the composer on it, and she is just this like masterful writer who knows how to take something like so small, it's like a small town story, and make it feel so like big and life encompassing. So definitely Kimberly Akimbo. Oh man. Okay, then I'll name check Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Hedwig is like, talk about like Broadway punk crossover. I saw that show for the first time, or like I feel like such a fraud in theater spaces, because I'm like, oh, I've discovered these shows more recently than I should have, but like I saw it in, I think, 2015 when it was like doing a revival run on Broadway, and that was like hugely influential to me, because I was like, oh, this is also theater. Like for those that don't know, Hedwig is a story kind of told through a concert setting, where the conceit of the story is like it is Hedwig's concert, and Hedwig is telling, you know, the story of how she got to where she is today through the songs, like I believe diegetic songs in the concert. And it's so cool because the music is like punk music. It's not like, it really is not like, you can tell these songs weren't written on a piano. Like, these songs rock, and they rock hard. And part of Hedwig's appeal is like, she isn't the best vocalist, and like really rips it and brings the house down. And I was like, oh, this is the 2 things I love. This is like music with storytelling, and it is in a concert format. So that's my second one. And then my third one, it's such a basic answer, I don't care. Wicked rips. Wicked is so good. I saw Wicked for the first time in 2022. I saw it for the first time in 2022.
I haven't seen it.
Yo, okay, Haley, you and me, we're going. You name the time, the place, the date.
I will. I want to.
Love Wicked. I went to see it for the first time, and I was like, yeah, Wicked will be good. Of course, it's Wicked.
Right.
But it was one of those shows where it was like, if I ever had a chance to see something or Wicked, I wouldn't go see Wicked, because I was like, that'll be open forever. But finally, Omicron happened. The tickets were super cheap, and I was like, yeah, I'll see. What do you think? And the whole time, like Act 1, I'm like this in my seat, like shocked at just how good it is. It holds up. The songs are so good. Wicked. You heard it here first. Hot take from Alex Petti. Wicked is good.
Yeah. Turns out it's actually pretty good. That's interesting.
What a concept.
Yeah.
The show that's been running for 20 years has something to it.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Take Phantom off Broadway. Some of the good ones are still good, but that one is not.
Correct.
That's, I gotta see it. We're gonna go. The other one that I really want to have a revival, I think it had a revival before I moved to New York, that is so fucking basic, but I love it so much with all my heart, is Mamma Mia. I love it so much.
Here we go again.
I need it. I need it to come back.
It's ABBA rips. ABBA is one of those bands that has like a million hits, and
exactly.
They're all good. They all stand the test of time.
Absolutely. Hashtag Bill is the death. Okay. Speaking of Broadway as well, the musical you wrote, The Trouble with Dead Boyfriends, is headed for its off-Broadway debut, I heard. Congratulations.
Yes.
What has that journey been like for you? For those who don't know, you wrote the music and lyrics for this show. How can people support the show and see it and support you and the cast and crew?
So is that? Go ahead. Can you just give us like a time and place? Is it actually like scheduled already, or is it?
Yes. We are at the Players Theater from June 16th to July 17th. We play
Cool.
Thursday through Sunday, so we have 20 shows that we're doing over
Wow.
5 weeks this summer.
That's pretty good.
We're really thrilled about it. This show, to like really timestamp it, this show was started when Obama was still president. So it's been around for a minute. We started it in 2016, September 2016. We first started writing the songs, and the show's been just like kicking around and being revised for a long time. But to give the like quick pitch of it, it's called The Trouble with Dead Boyfriends, and it's the story of these 3 high school girls who are all trying to snag their perfect date to prom, with the one caveat that each of their boyfriends in a different way is dead and terrible in a different way. So you've got like a vampire who's like just obsessed with turning her, and that's all he cares about, turning her being the obvious metaphor for what it is, or a ghost that's too possessive. You get the gist. But yeah, so The Trouble with Dead Boyfriends has been around for like 6-7 years, and the journey's been a really non-linear one. We were in talks to start doing some stuff in 2019, and then this crazy thing happened in 2020 that
I don't know if you've heard about this, but
I don't know. You heard it here first. There was a pandemic in 2020. And we kind of put it on hold for a couple years, and then we got this opportunity to do the self-producing residency at the Players Theater, and we're really psyched. We're gonna share this out with a broad audience, and this is my first off-Broadway show. And if folks want to support us, the most important, best thing that you can do: buy a ticket, come hang out with us. We are like a beautiful, like 100-minute, beginning of your night, like barrel of laughs kind of wild show to come and see at an off-Broadway space in the West Village. It's so convenient. So buy a ticket, come hang out with us, come say hi to me, and then follow us on our socials at TWDB official. So TWDB, Trouble with Dead Boyfriends official on Instagram. Follow us there. We're going to be posting updates as we start rehearsals and start to build this thing out.
That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations so much on your Broadway debut.
Thank you.
Off-Broadway debut. But
Off-Broadway debut.
Yeah.
Ooh. Maybe that's the next step.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations. And speaking of kind of like collaborative art as opposed to just being a soloist, you're also in a band, I understand, called Good Thoughts. Is that right?
Yes. So, my band is called Good Thoughts.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your band and how that started?
Sure. Yeah. Speaking of pandemic, so I played in bands growing up in high school, as we kind of like touched on. I was like playing in punk bands and doing this whole thing. And then I made this pivot to the theater career, which obviously I'm still sticking with. But in the pandemic, I really just like, it really became incredibly apparent to me how much I missed playing live music and playing my own live music, and how much fulfillment I got out of that. And I started to put together an EP of songs that we released in 2021. I believe that sounds like a pandemic timeline. In October 2021, I put out my first EP as Good Thoughts. And the drums on that record are played by actually the drummer from my high school band, Ken Bousquet, who's still playing in some bands up in Boston. He plays in KCUF and Coffin Salesman, if folks want to check those bands out. But then everything else on the record is me. I recorded guitars, bass, vocals, mix and master with a couple of guest additional vocal spots. We've been playing as an outfit since then, since fall 2021. We play as a 5-piece around New York City, and we've got our next show coming up on March 22nd at Bowery Electric. We'll be playing with fellow Keepsake artist Tony. Tony and I are splitting a bill. Yeah, so we're splitting a bill at Bowery Electric, which I'm really thrilled about. Over the course of the next year or so, Good Thoughts is going to be releasing 3 or 4 singles that'll probably all add up to an EP by the end of the year. So that's the plan with that content.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear that. And so you kind of have like this. You had. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. So you have like, you've written music in a lot of different spaces. You've written music for theater, you've written music for bands. I imagine you've written stuff that you can just play on your own as well. What is it like moving from the kind of like soloist perspective where you're just worried about like what you're doing into like collaborating with a band and a group of people, and also for theater as well? I can imagine. So do you feel like you're kind of like the head of the ship and you like make the decisions and then you kind of like pass that along to everyone else? Or is it like a really collaborative process where everyone just kind of like gets together and writes the song all in the same room at the same time?
Yeah, what a great question. So for my band, for Good Thoughts, technically I'm the only official member of Good Thoughts. So for that, I'm definitely like head of the ship, kind of in charge, and I I don't want to frame this as like a dictatorial thing, but like, I'll give people their charts for their parts, and then we'll kind of collaborate on like making it all come together, making the sound feel right for everyone. So that is writing wise, though, that's all generated from me versus working with theater collaborators. So I work with Annie Pulsifer, who I wrote The Trouble with Dead Boyfriends. I've written with Claire Frances Sullivan, and sometimes I collaborate and co-write some singer-songwriter stuff, which I write with Sophia DeLeo a little bit, and have written with some other folks. And the vibe is very different for a collaborative thing. It's very much part of the challenge of it is whatever I say goes when I'm in those solo sessions. So I get to kind of like steer the song in whatever direction like I feel is the right direction, which has its pros and cons, right? Like, it is nice to be able to be like, no, I want this to be like a hard rocking song, so it's just going to be a hard rocking song, versus like a collaborator is going to force me to see some nuance, and they're going to see things in songs that I don't necessarily see. And what's so wonderful about the collaborators I've been lucky enough to work with is they can catch a lot of my blind spots. They can catch the things that I don't see. And if I'm being a good student of what they're teaching me, I can learn a lot about stuff that I can apply to my own writing.
Can you give us an example of that? What's like a blind spot you had that someone helped you catch?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the most challenging things for me is I'm an overwriter, and I know I'm an overwriter. I like words, and I need to make sure that everybody knows exactly what I mean with no confusion whatsoever.
Yes.
And working with collaborators, Sophia DeLeo is really good about pushing me on this. If I'm trying to like state something and I'm trying to overstate it, like part of it is also like, we'll pause and be like, what is this verse going to be about? Or like, what is this song about? What is this chorus about? And try and distill it into one line. And Sophia is really good about like catching me and stopping before I get too far into like a lyric that I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to go for this or I'm trying to go for that. She's like, no, what is the lyric supposed to say? Okay, let's write it out and make it say that. That's been really good for me. Working with collaborators has really, really helped me focus on like simplify the writing and like trust that the audience like believes that what you're feeling is what you're feeling and it's going to get there.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I'm the blog writer for Keepsake, so I also am very familiar with like the kind of like you have like all this like floating like stuff that you want to say about it, and you kind of need like that one focal point to like bring everything together and focus in on. Yeah.
Right. A thesis statement.
Exactly.
Songs have thesis statements. Blogs have thesis statements. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We are. I'm curious too about your music writing process in terms of I'm going to call it like the personality, because style doesn't seem like the right word. But I feel like your music toes the line between drama and comedy. So you obviously sang the Jeff Bezos song at Foresight, our last show that you were in. And for those who have not heard this song, we'll put it into the blog post and you'll see it. And that song is hilarious, and you got a great crowd reaction. And I know you're kind of surprised by that in a good way. And most of your songs have that element of comedy and energy, definitely. But they can also be actually really dark and often story songs that are based in reality. We don't have to get too specific, but Sit Back directly references a bombing. Does this like dual personality feel like a conscious choice that you're thinking about when you write, or is it just a natural reflection of how you see the world?
I think it's a little more latter than the former. I wouldn't say it's a conscious choice, with the one exception of when I wrote the Jeff Bezos song, I was like, I need to clown on this billionaire asshole, and billionaire assholes in general. But that one, I was like, let me write a funny song. But the duality between, I really don't think that I write a lot of like haha funny songs, but I like to write stuff that like it's kind of just the way that I see the world. Like I really, I've struggled with depression. I'm very open about this. Like I've struggled with depression. I've had suicidal ideations in the past, and some people are really serious about it. And for a long time, I was really serious about it. Like, you know, I would be uncomfortable whenever someone brought the topic up. But for me, the fact of the matter is just like, there is like comedy in everything. Like there's stuff about depression that's so funny. Like one of my bits that I use all the time is like, the most infuriating part about having depression and being told to go on a little walk or exercise or drink water more, the worst part about that is that it works. It's infuriating.
That's honest. Yeah. No.
It's so frustrating. It's like, I gotta get up again, go outside, and it's gonna help. Ugh, like terrible. And that's the thing is like I'm joking about a thing that like did almost take my life, but like at the same time, like I feel like there is a certain extent of like I have to be able to joke about stuff. I have to be able to talk about stuff, because when I tend to write, I write about the stuff that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
I write about, you know, you referenced the song Sit Back, and I wrote that song during the pandemic, the chorus of which is just, I sit back and relax as the world is ending. And I, like a lot of people, I wanted to write some pandemic art, but I didn't want to be like, you know, write my lyrics and be like, when the virus hit, I was stuck inside, right? Like I was not going to write directly at it, but it was this feeling of like, I tried to consume as much news as possible about it, because that made me feel like I had control over it. And I was like, in reality, I'm doing nothing. Like I'm learning stuff to no ends, to no means. And I tried to figure out like the times in my life, and I wanted to write at it from those scenarios of like, you know, when my dad had appendicitis and almost died when I was like 16 or something like that, there's this feeling of like, well, let me get the update. Tell me what's going on, like whatever. And all I'm doing is just spinning my wheels, waiting to see if a doctor can do his job. And when there was this port explosion in Beirut, which I mentioned earlier in the interview, I'm Lebanese. Like I tried to, you know, I did some like raising money and whatever, but what I was so frustrated about was like, you know, I felt so badly and felt this like survivor's guilt of like, well, my family got out a while ago, and you know, I don't have a lot of folks there, but I do have like a community of folks that are Arab and Lebanese who had relatives stuck there. And you know, you can raise money, you can do the Instagram like, you know, donation match stuff, but at a certain point there's not much you can do about it. Yeah. So you know, that song's not so like haha funny as much as it is like, you know, I find it funny that I'm just like wandering around this parking lot during my work shift being like, I forgot my gloves, and I like, and I'm freezing right now. And also like, it's silly that I'm worrying about my forgotten gloves. Like, I don't know, all that to say is like, this is just the way I kind of like see the world. I need to get it out with comedy a little bit, but without the sharper edge. I feel like, I don't know, I write music for people to be able to understand me, and without the sharper edge, I don't think people get the full picture.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And it's kind of connected to, I think, your background in punk rock too, because like punk and ska and everything, like the whole idea of the art form is that it's like, it's giving a voice and levity to something that's really dark fundamentally. And it's like, it's confronting like all the like struggles of life and all the like insanities of the modern world, but it does it with like, you know, blaring trumpets all of the time, and it's like really upbeat tempos, and it's cool to see how like that same spirit kind of like manifests in your writing today as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like a lot of pop punk stuff has that like detached irony of like songs in major keys that are like upbeat and sound really happy and are about like people not doing well. And to me, it's like, that resonated with me so much as a kid, and even now, because I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel all the time. I'm a high energy person who like loves to be out and talking to people.
Mhm.
And a lot of the time that's what it feels like from my view. I'm like, I'm upbeat, I'm happy, I'm doing the thing, I'm good at socializing, but underneath the surface, I'm still, I'm still me, and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with that and feel better about it.
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
speaking of that's kind of like songwriting process that you have, you also, my understanding is, participated in the Johnny Mercer Songwriters Project last year. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you like what that experience was like, of course. But before that, I also want to ask you, it says that you were applying for it for a few years before you got in.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to know, like, what was it like to be applying for the same thing over and over again? Like, how much did it mean to you for you to like keep committing to it over and over like that? And like, just talk about that experience if you can.
Talk about that pain.
Yeah, let me dig in. No, this is one of the things I'm like really proudest of as an artist, is like there are some folks who apply to things and get in on their first try because like they're just that good, and like respect to them, and like no shade from my end, but that just hasn't been my journey.
Mhm.
So some of the biggest things I've gotten in my career were like I got into the BMI Layman Angle Musical Theater Writers Workshop. Took me 4 tries to get in.
Yeah.
I got into Johnny Mercer Songwriters Project, which is an amazing program, and I can't recommend it enough. Took me 6 tries to get in.
No.
And it's really hard. It's really hard, and it's one of the things I'm proudest of is my resilience as a writer, of like I know how to take it on the chin and be like, okay, like I applied, my songs were like not good enough, or maybe it wasn't the year for me, or whatever it is. Like maybe the selection committee, like they had their group and there was someone that was too like me and they said, we're going to go a different direction. But
sometimes that year they just get really good people,
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like I had folks in my year who, Johnny Mercer specifically, they tend to like pick someone who like they're the one person that lane. So there's like one Phoebe Bridgers sad girl with a guitar, and there's like one funk writer, and I was like the one like rock and roll writer. And there are plenty of talented people who get very close and don't end up getting it because it just, there was someone else and it was a coin toss and it came up tails. But yeah, it was continuing to apply and just like pushing myself as hard as I can to keep writing better and better songs is something that I take a lot of pride in. Like I was never someone that like, I was not a savant growing up. I never was a savant when it came to songwriting or music theory or playing guitar. I was good. I'll admit that I was good, but like to get to where I am today has been like a lot of like hard knocks and a lot of like people telling me no and me saying, okay, I will come back and I'll be better next time. I'm really proud of how I've grown as a songwriter in the last 6 years or so, because I did get better. Getting rejected from that program forced me to get better, and eventually I got in, and it was incredible. And I met some of my best friends that I'd never known before going into that
great
program. So I'm so grateful.
Do you want to take it from there? Just talk about the program.
Yeah, absolutely. So Johnny Mercer Songwriters Project is it's basically this like week-long songwriters retreat that happens at Northwestern. Northwestern kind of like partners with the program. And there are 4 master's teachers, or at least there were when I did it, a couple from the theater realm and a couple from like the pop songwriting realm. And basically all you do is you get selected, and they fly you out, which is very cool. It makes you feel very VIP. Then you get put into a dorm room, which does not make you feel very VIP. Can you believe we did that when we were like 19? We were like, time to take my shower shoes to go to the communal shower.
That was insane. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I did that my freshman year of college, and looking back, I'm like, that was one of the most harrowing things I've ever done. Getting into like a communal shower where it's like,
insanity.
You just know how many diseases are on the floor, and it's like, God, that's insane. Yeah.
It's so gross. And they just slam like 20 hormonal 18-year-olds on the same floor and say,
good luck.
Go at it, kids. Have fun.
It's awful.
But anyway, so we're on Northwestern's campus for a week. And basically from day one, it's just like you are in songwriting, like not boot camp. That isn't right, because like it's not like there are drill sergeants being like, you have to write songs, you have to like whatever. But it was this incredible experience of like, it was 12, me and 11 other like songwriter teams showed up in the same place, and we all presented songs, like presented one of our old songs, and then just like wrote new material all week and just kept presenting it out. And there was this like beautiful game of one-upsmanship happening where like nobody was like trying to like top each other and be like, I'm better than you, but everybody like wrote incredible songs day one and then came back with even better songs day two, and then better, and everybody just like, I wrote 5 songs in a week, which was crazy. And there were other people that did similar amounts. And it was, I took really seriously. It took me 6 tries to get into this. It took me a really long time to get in. I wanted it so bad. I wanted it so bad for so long. And I was like, if I'm going to be here, like, I really like, I have to give everything that I can possibly give to it. And it was so rewarding to go there and not just be like, yeah, I am of the caliber of person to be able to participate in this workshop, but also to genuinely get better at writing. A lot of my notes I was talking about like needing to simplify my writing earlier. Those were notes I got from the master's teachers. Like those were people talk about, this was a really like emotional thing for me because I've talked about this before. I'm a wordy writer. Like I really need people to like be sure that I'm, getting my point across. And one of the master's teachers, Andrew Lippa, heard one of my songs, and I was like, I laid it all out there. I was like, I said everything I need to say. And he was like, I wonder what you're not saying right now. And I was like, what do you mean I said everything I need to? He's like, yeah, you're using a lot of words so that you like can talk around what you actually like need to go at. And it taught me a lot about like writing directly at my problems and trusting that even though there aren't a lot of, might not need to be a lot of words in there, be able to have people believe what I'm saying. Even though I didn't, QED fact statement, like I am sad and they can believe that or not, but it's not up to me to have to convince them. It's up to me to be honest,
Yeah.
It was an incredible week. It was an incredible program. Shout out small group where I met Moyana, who is a member of Keepsake House with us this year, one of my fellow artists in residence. Yes. I met her in my small group and one of my best friends, Sophia DeLeo, at the Johnny Mercer workshop. And like, y'all, like it's real. Like the group chat is still blowing up. Like we get songwriting notes from each other. Like it is real community. And I'm really lucky to have been in it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thanks so much for sharing all that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've loved hearing about this program, which I think is accepting or just finished accepting applicants for this year. And it feels like I feel so connected with Keepsake House to this program already because we have both you and Moyana this year. Yeah. But I also just admire exactly what you're saying because it is so hard to keep going back over and over again and to not take that rejection to heart and to use it and implement it into your growth. So I just think that's so amazing. And I also feel like this is the first time in Keepsake House that I've been on the other side of that, where I am like choosing an opportunity, somebody gets an opportunity and I have like this gift to give somebody. And it was really overwhelming last year, Jasmine and I, when we got so many more applicants than we thought we would get for this residency. And I think like you are a good reminder, not through Keepsake House because you were chosen on your first application, but but the many years of work, like please apply again. Like I say that to anybody who applied last year, like our telling you not this year is exactly what you said in Johnny Mercer. A lot of the time for us too, it was like, well, we want the most diverse lineup. Like we only have room for like one punk rocker, we didn't like you are that and for us too. So and that differs year by year based off the applicants. But like I just think, I'm hopeful that like that you're a great story to learn from for people in Johnny Mercer, Keepsake House, all of these residencies because they're so selective. But speaking a little bit about the artist in residence application with us, in that application, you actually wrote a lot about, one of the reasons that we chose you, I should specify, is that our application is very community focused. So we did not a single one of the artists that was selected was somebody who didn't mention community building being important to them. So it goes beyond the art, right? And so you were one of those people. You wrote about your experience growing up Arab, as well as how important community building is to you. And I'm going to quote you if you don't mind, but we can take it out if you don't want it later.
Yeah.
So you said, as a member of the Swana songwriting community, I want to use my music to break down stereotypes about American Arabs and Arabs abroad, to ensure that Americans see the humanity inside of the places our country seems to endlessly invade. Can you talk more about this goal? And really, this is just a platform for you to talk about this however you want to.
Sure, yeah. Oh God.
It's a big one, yeah.
If you want to.
I do want to. Would you read it for me again? I want to get this right.
Yeah.
That's
so
like, what did I say? I said that?
Yeah. No, I want to focus in and get thesis right, because I feel it's important. Would you just read it for me one more time?
Absolutely. You said, as a member of the Swana songwriting community, I want to use my music to break down stereotypes about American Arabs and Arabs abroad, to ensure that Americans see the humanity inside of the places our country seems to endlessly invade.
Yeah. So when I was, as an artist, and as someone who I like to write about the things that keep me up at night, and I only started writing about my Arab identity maybe 3-4 years ago, and part of that was I'm mixed. That's only on my mom's side, so it's only part of it, and I didn't know how much of that mantle I was allowed to take. But one of the things that I just couldn't stop thinking about, and an idea that just kept rattling around my brain, is my grandfather was an Arab man. He was a dark-skinned Arab man who grew up in Boston. And he was a member of the U.S. military, and he fought in World War II. And there's this parallel between his service and the service of one of my cousin's fiance, who was killed in Iraq. And what my grandfather was doing, what Frederick was doing, was a noble cause and recognized as such. And on the flip side, I had another, and he came home and he lived a decently long life. He died at 60 of a heart attack. And then I had, a soon-to-be member of the family killed for no reason, for a war that we shouldn't have been a part of. And they feel disparate at first, but then you start to realize it is the dehumanization of Arab life abroad. Where things happen that this drove me nuts with the port explosion in Beirut. There was a massive port. For the folks that don't know, there was this massive port explosion in Beirut. I think it was August of 2021, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was all due to governmental failures and all this stuff. The details of that are not relevant to what I'm saying, but a lot of it was the biggest story in the news for 3 days, and then it kind of receded to the background. And a lot of the commentary about it was around how there was this implication that that's a normal thing to happen there. It's a normal thing for people in Arab countries to deal with war and explosions. And it isn't. It isn't, and it's something that we have been kind of conditioned to believe. I don't blame Americans for feeling this way, but we get told over and over, actually, it's strategically advancing our yada 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 whatever for us to give billions of dollars to the Israeli military to commit apartheid, and occupy Palestine. It is part of our psyche, and I think I have a bit of a responsibility as someone who sees both sides of it. I've been raised in a community that's mostly white. In many ways, I'm white passing, but on the other side, that assimilation that my family has kind of been forced into, I'm able to kind of like see both sides of it. I want to bring people into the fold. I want to bring people into understanding that, like, actually, we have so much more in common with the people of Iran or the people of Lebanon who are struggling under US sanctions or who are not getting the aid that would be designated to other countries with different racial makeups. We have so much more in common with them than we do with with the Jeff Bezoses of the world, to bring it back around to one of my favorite punching bags. We have so much more in common with each other, and I want to be able to break down stereotypes about Arab Americans. First of all, that we aren't a part of American society because we are part of that American fabric. And I am like weirdly a proud American too. What's up, my postal service sweatshirt representing. But like I'm proud American. I feel very American in my identity, but I also feel that like that Arab background as well. And I both want to address this head on with songs like Blood and Treasure or Sit Back, songs of mine where I write directly about the military conflicts that the United States is engaged in, who have taken the lives of my family members. I want to write about that, and I want to be someone who isn't defined by it. Arabs are people that just like fall in love and are normal and live normal lives too. I want my writing to be able to kind of like contain that, and I don't know, be hopefully a conduit for people to, the next time these international debates are coming up, really question like how much of this is propaganda that we've been fed about like what's normal for folks to go through in other parts of the world versus what we should really be like stepping back and questioning as moral.
Yeah.
Cool. Can y'all clip that into like a more condensed answer that sounds really smart?
I will do that. Yeah,
Autumn can.
I'll clip that. I'll cut that together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, but
thank you.
I totally hear you. Yeah, it's like we like, speaking as someone who is American and not really connected to like Arabs or like the Middle East or anything. It's like the way that I understand it, the way I've heard about it, it's always in terms of like geopolitics. It's like here is like strategically where America's positioned, here's where Russia's positioned. I can't follow any of it because I just it's just so complicated.
Totally.
But like all I hear about from these different countries and stuff is like the geopolitics of it, the way that like the different powers of the world are like manipulating and using the pieces. It's so easy when you're inundated with stuff like that to forget that there are actual like human beings on the ground who are suffering as the result of all these decisions.
Right.
And like each time you hear about, oh, there was an attack here, we're attacking this for the other thing, each time you hear about that and you're just like, they're playing moves in like this game of chess to like maneuver. Every time you move a piece on the chessboard, hundreds of people die, hundreds of families are destroyed as a result of that. And it's so easy to forget that when like no one talks about it, and all you hear on the news is the way the chess pieces are moving around. So I really appreciate it of you for like bringing this new perspective into the world.
Well, the other thing that I want people to like think about and recognize is like, we're talking about like these chess pieces and geopolitical. The people there, those people are like, what they're worried about? Like, they're like, what am I going to make for dinner tonight?
Exactly.
Like, and not in the like, oh, they're this like whatever. It's like, I don't know. I got to try something new with my hummus recipe. It's not hitting like too. Like, they are regular, normal human beings trying to live their lives, and we're disrupting that. And we have so much more in common with them and each other than we do with the people who are at the top making the chess moves.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking about that. That was really great to hear.
And thank you for framing it the way that you did. That was really helpful. We'll just clip that part. That part was good.
Thank you.
No, we definitely want your answer as well.
We'll mix it together. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
Do you still have a few more minutes? I know we're going.
I can go over.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh shit. Sorry, the next one's mine.
You're fine.
It's all good.
Okay. Yeah. So all that like musical journey stuff out of the way, you are now here with us as an artist in residence at Keepsake House. So, what's it been like for you? How long have you been a resident? And tell us like what your experience has been like hanging out with us.
So wait, Haley, when did my residency officially start? The
It's
Christmas
really
show?
confusing.
That's why I
Kind
asked.
of
Yeah,
no. I'm
yeah.
gonna say it starts when you start performing. So yeah, let's just say the Christmas
So,
show.
okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been a resident at Keepsake House for maybe 10 weeks or so.
Yeah, nice.
I performed for the first time in December 2022 as part of the residency program, and it's been magical. Like, no lie, it's been an unbelievably like positive experience. Keepsake House. We've been talking a lot about community. Keepsake House really walks the walk when it comes to building community. I have been invited into people's homes. I have been invited to collaborate on performances and songs. And my experience as a resident is like I'm really getting to focus on the artistry side of things, and I'm getting to meet all of these incredible residents, both the storytellers and the songwriters, who are inspiring me with their work and entertaining me in all these incredible ways. Like it's really special. Like Keepsake is a special place. And I said this at Foresight at the most recent Keepsake concert, but like I do not know how Haley and Jasmine do it. They just like draw blood from rocks all day long and create this really special thing for artists, like where we get to grow and focus on performing and expand our network with other wonderful artists. It's been amazing.
I was honestly thinking the same thing. Like, I don't know how they do it. It's just like I show up and then people perform music, but it's unlike any performance I've ever been to before. Like, I don't know. It really is something special. I hear you on that.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that you're welcome, Haley. And my understanding is also that you are also hosting a show, or kind of like you are like the visionary for the next show that's coming up, Outside the Lines. Is that right?
That is right.
Yeah.
So Outside the Lines is the next Keepsake show on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happening. Oh, give me the date, Haley. It's March 16th.
March 16th.
March 16th.
Got it.
Okay, got it. March 16th, Outside the Lines. This is a show I applied. That was on my application. My pitch for the show was on this application. And I'm really excited. It's going to be very like chaotic and wacky in a fun way. Me and two other artists that are in the Keepsake family, or two other songwriters in the Keepsake family,
Do we know which two already?
Yes.
Who
It is.
Morning-
Go ahead.
Oh, me. Okay, Morning Glory, who was a artist in residence in 2022 and famously introduced you at From Story to Song, as well as Ashley Virginia, who is a brand new performer from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Cool.
Yeah, so Ashley and Livy and I, Livy being Morning Glory, are all going to play a song of our own, and then each get to cover one of each other's songs as our different rounds within the show, which is going to be crazy. And we're not allowed to hear the covers before they happen too.
So each artist is like preparing their cover beforehand, but they don't. So if I'm getting this right, each artist gets one song from each of the other two artists. So they prepare two songs covering the other artist, and they don't.
Yeah.
The original artist does not hear the cover until the day of the show. Is that right?
I don't even. That's correct. And also,
Okay.
I don't know what songs of mine Livy and Ashley are playing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play one of my songs. I'm gonna play one of Livy's songs. I'm gonna play one of Ashley's songs, and they are not gonna know which song or what it sounds like until the day of the show. They're gonna live react, and then we're also working with our storyteller Grace to we're going to underscore one of her stories. Each of us are going to take a little section of the story and write some like underscoring music beneath it, which she will not hear until day of the concert. It's going to be some very like crazy chaotic energy, and it's going to be really special. I can like feel it already.
Yeah, that is such a cool premise. I think like playing the song for the first time for someone, and then they hear it and react to it live on stage.
Yeah,
it's harrowing. I guess it's kind of scary, but it is really cool.
Yeah. Well, part of I had this idea for like a show called First Impressions of Each Other, where like we like me and some of my artist friends would like do our first impressions of each other. So we would like cover each other's songs and stuff. And part of the reason I found it to be like a cool concept was when cover songs happen, and like we all know, like when you hear a special cover where they like remix it a little bit, or they do something different, or their voice is a little bit different, you find something new in the song, and it really gets to emphasize different parts of the artistry than when the artist themselves performs the song. And I think it's a way of like, it's a really like beautiful way of paying tribute to like, oh, these are the things that I love in the songwriting of Morning Glory. Let me like emphasize them in my own way and like bring to light new things about these pieces that might not show in the usual performance setting.
Yeah, totally. All right, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are so excited for this show. It was one of the most Keepsake-esque ideas that we've ever heard for a couple of reasons. One being, I guess, like any kind of new, fresh idea for a show that is very specific is, I think, perfect for us. Like one of our most successful shows that we've ever done, the theme was people singing in languages other than English, but it was specifically about people with immigrant histories being bilingual, growing up bilingual. So it also invited that kind of diverse angle. And that show is now a show that we're going to do, or we hope to do every single year, linguistics. And I could totally see Outside the Lines being one that we repeat. I mean, I'm jumping the gun here, but I think it's going to be very good. And I think
we'll have to see how it goes first.
See how it goes first. But like, I do
think
it just has that, like, it has that hook that you're just like, oh my God, that's so interesting. It's so easy to explain to somebody who's never heard about it. And then beyond that, like, it's one of our favorite things to do at Keepsake House is to like pair people and to make assignments. And this is sort of what we do it from story to song. And it's something that Jasmine and I are like, we secretly think, you know, this is our greatest skill. So,
matchmaker.
We're like artist matchmakers behind the scenes. And like you say, you know, you don't know what's coming, but Jasmine and I know everything. And it's very fun. So thank you for this incredible idea. Last question. This is a question that we ask every single person who does the Behind Closed Doors interview. So you may have seen it before. And it's kind of our favorite question to ask of artists. So at Keepsake House, we talk a lot about the magic in live shows and the communities they help create. Almost like every live performance is a keepsake that you cherish from a whole house of life experiences. So tell us about your most memorable or fulfilling live performance, the one you would grab first in a fire. This is purposefully vague. Some people will answer their own performance that they were a part of. Some people will answer a show that they went to. So neither is wrong.
Oh man. Okay. So it could be some like one of my performances that I've done, or it could be
whatever you want.
Oh man. Okay. This is a good question. I am gonna answer. I'm gonna go with the cringier answer because we have to. I feel like we all have to embrace the cringe because it is our true selves.
This is punk rock at its finest, right here.
Punk rock at its finest. I saw Green Day on the wasn't the American Idiot tour. It was the next one after that, which was this like concept album that kind of flopped. It doesn't matter.
What was the name of the concept album? I love concept albums.
It was oh my God, album.
We can find it later.
Hold on. I gotta go. 21st Century Breakdown. It was called 21st Century Breakdown.
Okay, yeah.
That it was a whiff. It had a couple good songs on it. Doesn't matter. I saw them live for the first time, and I had loved Green Day for years, but I missed them on the American Idiot tour, and I think I was like a little too young to go alone. But I went alone with my best friend. I was like 15 or something like that, and we were in like the general admission pit, and it was like this incredible show. Green Day puts on an unbelievable live show. They're like leading sing-alongs. They're doing like extended bridges or whatever to get the audience hyped. And I moshed for the first time at that show. I crowd surfed for the first time at that show.
What?
I truly felt like invincible. But like invincible in this like in this like I'm flirting with danger in all these ways. I'm like pushing against people like twice my size, and you know, getting like vaulted into the air by like some bro who thinks it's funny to launch a kid up or whatever. And I was like, this is so dangerous, but I feel so safe because it feels like there is this community of people around. Like it's an old stereotype in like punk rock circles, like when you get pushed down in the mosh pit, everybody stops, you get picked back up, and then you keep going. And that was one of the first times I felt that community in that environment. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to be the person on stage who helps do this for other people.
I hear you totally. And even though like you say like it's like a cringy answer, but it's like it's kind of like it has even more meaning because it happened like at such a young age. Because now like we've been to lots of different shows, we've seen different kinds of performances, we kind of like see behind the curtain of how all the stuff works. But the first time you do it, the first time is the most magical, I think, always. It's
like alchemy. It's like, how did you turn this like little this concert venue into just like a magical like political rally epic space?
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and that captures exactly what we're talking about. Literally, like that magic. It's something you really cannot understand unless you were there, or just have had a similar show experience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Alex.
So everyone can catch me in the pit and outside the lines on March 16th.
That's right.
Yeah.
100%. I don't think we're gonna mosh.
I doubt we're gonna mosh in Rockwood 3 in the like little chairs in the basement, but I welcome it.
That could be tough, but you know,
maybe a different Keepsake show.
Maybe story to song. I'll rate the first like mosh pit song for Keepsake House.
Ooh, that's exciting. Something to look forward to. Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
Thanks,
and it's always just a joy to speak with you and see you. And I'm excited for us all to go to Wicked together.
Yes,
let's go. Catch me in the mosh pit at Wicked. So lovely to see you, Haley. And Autumn, it was so nice. I don't know if we've met before, and I'm so sorry if we have, but
not
so
formally.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I think we might have like talked after show or something, but
like
this is our first
quick
time
chit chat
like,
or
talking.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nice to chit chat with you and like get to talk a little bit longer. And next time we talk, it'll be less about me, I promise. All right, good to see y'all.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out to join us.
Cheers. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
My brittle hands are bleeding like my father's insides. I play scenarios through, and there's not much I can do but sit back and relax as the world is ending.